Okay. We created the Business Echo program to connect business professionals in a collaborative learning community where they can share expertise, solve real-world challenges, and strengthen their capacity to support thriving businesses and communities. We do this using the Echo model of all teach, all learn. So this platform is created for you to bring your business challenges and discuss them on this platform. And so we welcome and encourage your participation. The session is being recorded, so please be mindful of what you say. Please mute your mic if you are not speaking, and please keep your cameras on because it does help us create community. And please be kind and mindful of others. And if we can ask you to please update your Zoom to show both your name, your first name, last name, and agency, that would be very helpful. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and move on to introductions. So my name is Laura Chavez, and I'm a project manager here at the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce. Greg, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Hi, everyone. My name is Greg Mullen. I'm the CEO at ABQ IT and Albuquerque Computer and Electronics Recycling Company. I'm also a member of the Hub team here, and thank you all.
Thank you. Cody.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Cody Teran with the Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce. I'm happy to be here.
Carl.
Good morning, Carl Vidal. I am with Irby Homes and R1 Property Management. I am a commercial realtor and happy to be here today.
Great, welcome. Tori, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Tori Johnson. I'm a cybersecurity major at NMSU, and I'm currently an intern here at the Hispano Chamber.
Great. We're going to move on to our participants online. Maria, can you please introduce yourself?
Me? There's another Maria. Well, my name is Maria Ramirez.
Oh, I'm sorry, Maria, we can't hear you.
Oh, okay. I turn on my, I don't know. Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay. My name is Maria Ramirez, and I do own a cleaning services here in Albuquerque. We do serve surrounding areas, and yeah, I'm here to listen to you guys.
Wonderful. Welcome, Maria. We're happy to have
Thank
you.
you.
And we have another Maria, Encarnacion. Can you introduce yourself, please? Okay. So I think we're going to go ahead and jump right in and get started. Today's topic is commercial real estate, acquiring a brick-and-mortar presence, presented by Carl Vidal, Associate Broker, R1 Property Management. Carl, take it away.
All right. Thank you very much for having me today, and good morning. This is a practical workshop, not a sales presentation, and we're going to be looking at how a physical location can create revenue and credibility for you. But it also creates fixed costs and operational demands and risk. So my goal is to help you decide what your business actually needs before you fall in love with the listing. The principle for today is going to be really simple. Do not start with the listing, but rather start with the business. So on here, there we go. There was a little bit of a delay there. Okay, sorry. So on here, we have about 40 minutes total. So I'm going to keep the teaching portion very focused. I'm going to start with context, then to define the requirements that a property must meet. And also, most of the time is going to go to a case exercise where you'll get to choose among 3 imperfect buildings and defend the trade-offs on that. We'll finish with a checklist and resources and any questions. And as we go, please write down for yourself one property requirement that would make or break a location for your own business. All right. So a commercial property is not just a backdrop. It becomes a part of your daily operations. And the right site helps customers find you. It's going to support parking and deliveries. It's going to give your staff the right layout and protects your margins. The wrong site, though, can quietly consume time and money, through poor access, inadequate power, expensive build outs, or even bad lease terms. I look at all three kinds of fit: customer fit, operational fit, and risk fit. And under the risk fit here, you see code. When we talk about code, we're talking about all the zoning laws, the city code, the fire code, access code, all of those things come into play. I think all the other items on this slide are very self-explanatory to everybody, but feel free to ask me any questions at the end on that. So here is a local reminder that the building itself can become an emergency. And, I want to just real quickly talk about a case that happened here in April. Lindy's Diner was ordered to close after serious structural concerns were identified in the building. And then about a week later, the wall collapsed, took out, most of Central. It was a very inopportune time for the city. I sit on the board of also, Visit Albuquerque, and we're launching all the Route 66 stuff. And now we've got, a building down. The business itself is, now not able to operate. Now, this is not a criticism of the owner, right? It is just a due diligence lesson for everybody. Older buildings can offer character and visibility, but the condition, the code requirements, capital reserves, and business continuity still matter to your business. So, ask yourself always, is this a location? If my location became unusable tomorrow, how would my revenue continue and who would carry the cost? Now, that's a very unfortunate situation. I love Lindy's, and, last I looked, they're still working through insurance and all of that. So it looks like they've got, some options there, but always something to think of when you're going through your building, right? All right. So eventually, you've got to make a decision on whether you want to lease or buy on a building. And before asking whether you want to lease or buy, you need to ask whether you're ready for a physical location at all. This location should solve a business problem, not just make the business feel more official, but readiness usually shows up as a repeatable demand and constraint that's limiting revenue, or an operational need for staff, maybe more inventory or equipment that you need to fit into your business. More importantly, the business must survive the total occupancy costs, not just the rent. You've got to think about things like your utilities, the insurance, maintenance, the build out of the building, your taxes, any CAM if it's a mixed usage, and then working capital you still need. So, vanity is not a requirement on having a building. You really need to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. So, lease and purchases are not a good versus bad choice. They buy different things. Leasing is going to buy you flexibility, less cash up front, faster occupancy, and an easier exit if the business changes, right? The trade-off is you're getting less control over renewals, rent, and the building decisions. Buying a building, though, or even a property, buys you control, stability, and possibly even equity, but it also brings debt maintenance, capital reserves, and less flexibility. A simple rule is to lease when the business still needs flexibility, but when your location becomes mission critical, cash flow is durable, and the property fits a long-term plan, then it might be time to buy. I've got a friend down in Texas. They own a pizzeria, and they had this pizzeria for 7 years. About 2 years ago, their landlord decided they wanted that building for something else, and so they didn't renew their lease. Then they go in and they sign a new lease in a new shopping mall. And while they're doing their build out, the neighbor accidentally starts a fire, burns down the entire complex. They didn't have any insurance. So now they've been shut down for like 6 months as they move to the new location. Then a fire devastates them. And it took them another year and a half to open. And, those are the things to think about, things that can go wrong when you're looking at real estate. Now, not to say they did anything specifically wrong other than not having the insurance right at the time of the fire. But when you're thinking about leasing a building, you are giving up that control, right? Your landlord could choose to not renew that lease. But at the same time, you can move the business very quickly with a lease going into a new location. So just some items to think about as you go. All right. So before touring, before touring, you need to write a 1-page property requirement brief. It should cover permitted use, the size and layout that you need, customer access, parking, loading requirements, storage, utilities, the build out that you need, budget that you have, and the timeline and the future growth. Test the property against a normal Tuesday at 10 a.m., not against an empty stage tour. It's really easy to fall in love with the building as you go in and look at it. But once you actually get on site, you got to remember, what is this building doing during my business hours? A good example, my daughter goes over to Cottonwood Classical Academy over on Jefferson and Paseo. Every single morning, there is kid drop-off. And Jefferson has some traffic issues there as that's going on. If it's mission critical that you've got to have deliveries going in at that exact time, that might not be a great location to place your business. So you really do have to understand everything that's going on in the neighborhood and not just the single location itself. All right. So in Albuquerque, due diligence has lots of layers, and this really applies to anywhere. I don't think this is just specific to Albuquerque. But you need to confirm the use under, in Albuquerque, we call it the IDO. Is your permitted use permissible? You need to look at your business registration and how you're registering for your taxes. You need to be ensured that you can get a permit and have an inspection path, and whether a certificate of occupancy is going to be required. You also need to verify the fire and life safety, parking signage, accessibility, how trash is going to work, your utilities, and any environmental concerns. Additionally, flood exposure, title and restriction issues. So all of this, a broker can help identify the questions and connect you to the right resources. But the owner needs to verify the answers with the city and the appropriate professionals. So just confirm the use of the building and the code path before you spend a lot of serious money on a building and start going down that on that route.
Can I throw one in there, Carl?
Yes.
Internet. So for some folks, your internet connection can be really important depending on what you're doing. You may need fiber, you may need symmetrical, meaning the same downloads as upload speeds and that kind of thing. So you might consult with an IT provider. For example, at ABQ IT, we could tell you exactly what providers are available for a given location at that moment in time.
Absolutely. And I've seen before, I've happened to work with you on some of these, and you have maps of every fiber optic line in the city.
Yep.
Depending on how far away you are for that line, could cost significant resources and money to bring in that internet line if that's a requirement. Same thing with utilities, really of any kind. If you're looking at water, sewer, electrical, these are all things that can really contribute to the cost of a property. So great point. Thank you, Greg. Okay, so commercial real estate touches on law, taxes, financing. You've got construction cost. You've got your insurance and zoning and operations. No one person should be expected to answer all of this. Usually in real estate, they teach realtors to be a source of the source, right? Our job is often to help find the building, but then a lot of these questions, a real estate agent can't offer you legal advice unless they're an attorney. That would be a violation of law, right? So you do need an attorney to actually interpret legal advice. The broker helps with all the marketing, the information, tours, negotiations, and coordination. Your attorney is going to review it and provide legal risk analysis. Your CPA is going to test the cash flow and the tax impacts. Your lender is going to be looking at your debt capacity. Contractors and engineers are going to evaluate build out, code feasibility. Insurance advisors are going to evaluate your coverage and your continuity. And then city staff and state staff are going to evaluate permits and inspections and all of the, legalese stuff that you're going to be required to have before they'll give you the permits for your business. So always ask early, who represents me? The listing broker usually is going to be representing the landlord and or the seller. And do you need a purchase or leasing broker on your end? Always something to really clearly think about when you're looking at real estate. Okay, financing options do exist. So financing should support the strategy, not just justify the wrong site. Conventional loans may fit established borrowers, but you have SBA programs that can be very flexible for owner-occupied real estate. Improvements, equipment, and working capital. That's the SBA 7A. You also have the SBA 504. It's often considered for owner-occupied real estate and major equipment. So talk to your lenders and ask about like cash due at closing, fixed or variable rates, loan terms versus the amortization, any prepayment penalties, whether improvements can be financed. And then you have DSCR loans, which are the debt service coverage ratio, or other collateral requirements that you have to evaluate. So terms are going to vary by lender and by underwriting. There are some banks for some businesses that can go up to 100% financing. There are other banks that are going to require down payments and cash out of pocket. And then there's a lot of lenders that are going to require personal guarantees on some of these loans. So at the end of the presentation, I'm going to have a few lenders that I've worked with in the past. And then you also have, your local credit unions. You've got all the major banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citibank. All of those are available as well. I always recommend talk to a few lenders and, really go into your use case and they can evaluate whether that's a good fit. All right, so now we're going to apply this framework and we're going to break into teams. And since we have some people online, what's the best way to do this for breaking into teams? We could just do 2 teams with the number of participants we have. Okay. Are the people online able to confer as a team?
Through chat.
Through chat?
Either that or you could put them in a breakout room and then they can talk in there.
Okay. I should have discussed that before we started.
You want just everybody online to use chat, or we could mute ourselves here and then they can talk.
Yeah,
They
we
just can't
can
hear us.
You want to do that?
Sure.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll allow you to, everybody online will be in a group and you can discuss this and then we'll discuss it here in the room as well. Okay. And so let's just kind of go into the framework here. So we've got Sol Mercado Company. It's moving from their home-based operations to its first public location. It, is basically working in specialty products that it's been selling online and at pop-ups and then at a few of their wholesale accounts. All right. So they do need storage space for distribution, but they also need a storefront. All right. It is wanting to open within 90 to 120 days. It wants room for 3 years of growth and enough cash left for inventory and marketing. So your job is to choose which property on the following slide is going to be the best fit for them. And you have to identify what must be verified before signing a letter of intent. So what I'd like everybody to do is just take 3 minutes to read, and then about 8 minutes to discuss this, and then we'll get back together and have about 6 minutes just to report out on here. Choose the best business fit, not just the cheapest or the prettiest fit for the customer. All right. And then just again, please note Sol Mercado sells local specialties at pop-ups and at wholesale, and then online as well. All right. So here are the 3 options that we're looking at. We have a central avenue that has high visibility. We have a warehouse that's on I-25 with flex space. And then we have a neighborhood mixed use. And I will just leave these on here so everybody can just look at this. Before we start, any questions?
No.
No. All right. Think about the trade-offs of each location. All right. Okay.
Would it work if we all work together as one big group?
We could work together as one big group if you guys would like to do that.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay.
We can just kind of talk out.
So,
that's a good idea.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is interesting. So
Can you please go back to the previous slide for a second?
So Luis, I think, are you asking to go to the previous slide?
Yes, please.
Okay, we can barely hear you, so Luis, let's see.
Can you please go back to the previous slide? Am I loud enough? Yeah. Hi. There you
Slide.
go.
One.
The slide
It's
that has
cutting-
the slide with the case study.
it's cutting out every time you try and talk. So Luis, it's like static. There you go.
Okay.
If you click on the audio in the bottom left, make sure you have the correct microphone selected for your setup.
Yeah. So Greg, what are your thoughts?
Well, one thing I didn't see on your choices, for Central, one of my first thoughts is like crime and homeless problem on Central. And, if that should factor in, it's just part of the reality that we live in right now in this city, even if, it's a very unfortunate situation, but hypothetically in this scenario, that's one of my major concerns there with option 1.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say there's other issues I feel like with option 1 too, like tight parking is something you'd have to think of. The older electrical could be very expensive if you have to fix that. They don't have a dedicated loading, so if you need any sort of inventory coming in, you're not gonna be able, just like your Jefferson example, there's nowhere to access that. And if you are from Albuquerque and you know how Central is, it can be really tight if you have to even I can't even imagine driving like a U-Haul truck in that area, let alone trying to get and then also it has higher rent. So kind of feel like option A is just out.
Yeah. And I do like the idea of just sort of eliminating ones. So unless you guys are object, is everybody okay with eliminating option 1? Yeah. Okay. Great. Can you take us back to the options?
Option 2 was the I-25 flex warehouse, and then option 3, the neighborhood mixed use.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so option 2, the retail case is unclear. It is a flex warehouse. Building build out is likely expensive. That's a big unknown. Potentially now with, Google Maps and that kind of thing, you might be able to drive people there and get them to show up, despite it not being your typical maybe retail location. I don't feel anything jumping out as like an obvious, like, no.
What is, and then CO timing for C? Like, what does that mean?
I'm sorry.
The
Certificate of occupancy. CO is certificate of occupancy.
Oh, that's on, you're looking at C?
Yeah, I was looking. And like the weak customer experience, you can build that out with social media. And if they've already done pop-ups, that means like they probably have some sort of customer base that's loyal that would follow to a physical like location.
What do you folks online think? Anybody?
I think I'll go with option C. Would be, I think the biggest problem I see is the build out likely expensive, and that's a big unknown. And if we're looking at cash reserves, that may eat up into the cash reserves, and that's a priority for them.
Mhm.
The renewal terms are unclear, but if they get that 5-year term locked in, knowing that the renewal terms are unclear, they can start from day one to start making those contingency plans to kind of, either move out or really solidify those. The rent is moderate. Um,
What is TI allowance? You know?
Can't remember what I put there.
the shared trash is not really a problem, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think that's a small issue. Certificate of occupancy timing. I think from the time they start working on that process, and then working through the planning and zoning office downtown,
Mhm.
they can kind of work that out. So I think I'll go with C. C for me is the
Yeah,
better
TI allowance
option.
looks like tenant improvement. So if you do
There you go.
improvements, it gives you some sort of credit maybe on your rent. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tenant.
I like your analysis, Louise.
So I
It's
do like that. So I think C is the better option here.
I agree.
Okay. So I think that's a great exercise for everybody, and I appreciate everybody's thoughts on here. Given the time limit of the exercise, I don't know if necessarily any three of these are the right fit, but the purpose of the exercise is to go through the thought process. Going to the Central Avenue, everywhere in the city can have more or less crime, right? There's crime maps for that, for you to actually analyze that and see what's going on. Does all of Central have a crime issue or just portions of it, right? Those city crime maps can help bring that in. Deliveries, I remember I used to work on Central back in college with an advertising business. And all those businesses don't exactly have easy delivery. They would just park semis right in the median of Central downtown and take the deliveries in from there. Is it ideal? No, but every single business there still was able to get their deliveries from a truck, and able to operate with that. So those are all things you can work around, just things that you need to think through. But one of the options, or I should say, one of the things to look here is, pick the least likely to damage the business model. And, we talk a lot about risk aversion, right? What is going to be the most likely to allow your business to continually operate without running into problems? So on the following slide here, and I also created a handout that goes along with this, there is a scoring card that you can use for every building that you look. You can grade it 1 through 5 on, how is its use and its zoning fit. There's a grading scale for your customer access and your parking, your operations and your logistics, the build out cost and your timeline, lease or purchase economics, right? Very important factors. And then risk, and then also your exit options. You know, if you enter into the wrong lease and the location doesn't work out, or even purchase a building and it doesn't work out, what are you going to do with that building afterwards? Are you selling it? Can you sublease it? You know, do you have personal guarantees on the line? These are all things that you have to take into consideration. And then, you know, finally, also rate it on your growth fit. How is this going to help me grow over the timeline that you've identified? All right. So with that, you can score it. That can help you to evaluate which building is the correct building and help you narrow that down. And then, of course, it shouldn't just be your own score. You should be working with your team of professionals to help come up with these scores and make sure that that's the correct fit. All right. We do have a pre-search checklist here. So before you start calling landlords or a broker or touring properties, making any offers, use this checklist. It's going to help you define your business requirements, set lease versus buy triggers, confirm zoning and use, calculate your total occupancy cost, price the build out for you, verify parking, deliveries, utilities, bring in the right advisors, protect renewals, exits, and continuity options, and help you compare the total risk, not only just the monthly payment. Then tour buildings with discipline. Your next step is simple. Create a one-page property requirement brief this week for your business. And with that property requirement brief, you can then start looking. And then the principle is the same one we stand with. Do not start with the listing, start with your business. All right. And then just the final slide here. Something. Oh, look at the chat. Yeah. Okay. So just the final slide here, and you can blow this up, but I was able to put together just some Albuquerque due diligence resources for you to look at. You've got local case sources that we discussed. We've got some financing contacts as well. If you are looking at purchasing, I recommend talking to lenders early. Get pre-qualified, understand the you know, the amount of resources you're going to need on your end. Can you do 100% financing, or do you need to come to the table? If you're looking at a lease, you know, have your financials and all that in order. That way you can show, you know, that you do qualify for that lease. So that is my presentation today. I appreciate it. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Maria seems to have a question. She is asking if there's a replay and are we getting the slides by email? So Maria, I can answer that for you. We are going to go ahead and post the handout, which is basically mirrors the exercise that we walked through. That will be posted on the iEcho platform, as well as the slides. And you can get to it the way you got to today's session is just by logging in. And the other thing is that we do have, this session is being recorded and we are going to post it on our YouTube playlist. And I just dropped the link into the chat box. So all of our past sessions can be found there as well. And does anyone have any other questions? If you later have questions, or if there is a topic that you would like for us to cover, please know that you can reach out to us on our hispanochamberecho@gmail.com address. So please feel free to reach out.
Is the next session already planned?
The next session is to be announced. So please stay tuned, follow us on social media, and also it will be announced through the iEcho platform. So if there are no more questions, I'd like to go ahead and thank Carl for this amazing presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Going to be incredibly helpful, especially for those just starting out and those in transition. So thank you again. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Thank you.